How did you go? I hope you gave it a go. And it doesn't matter whether you got it wrong or right. The important thing is you tried. And that's how you learn. And that's what I'm here for, to help you if you get stuck. So let's get cracking. Let's look at the solution together. Firstly, let me remove myself just so you can see the screen in full size. There we go. And let's start coding the solution. So here we go. We've got our buttons, but nothing would happen, right? If we go back to our browser here, and let's make this big. If I click on this button, nothing is happening. It makes sense, right? Because we haven't told the browser to do anything when the button's clicked. And this is why we need to add our inline event listener. And do you remember how to do it? What's the first step? Well, that's right. We need to add this attribute to each button. What is the event we want to listen for? It's called onClick, right? Although we've got this onClick attribute right now, nothing will happen, because we've actually attached a listener, but we haven't defined any handler. So if we click the button again, nothing is going to happen. In order for us to make something happen, we need to assign this an event handler. So let's do that. Let's assign it an event handler. And yes, we could include all our JavaScript within here, but we don't want to do that. It gets messy. And as I said in the previous lecture, I want us to write our JavaScript in a separate file. So let's now execute a function. And let's call this function, because we're turning everything blue, let's just call this function blue, and we'll execute that function. On the second button, we can do exactly the same thing. We can add a click listener. And in this instance, we can execute a function called red. Very, very simple. Those elements to either blue or red. So there we go. It's that simple. So let's get stuck into it. The first step, grabbing the elements we want to change. And of course, we want to change three things, don't we? So I'm going to define a JavaScript variable called title. We're going to access the document object. This document object, as you know, is the root of our web page. And on this document, we've got many properties. The one I want to use is getElementById. And of course, we gave it an ID of title, didn't we? If we go back to our index page, we can see we gave that H1 an ID of title. Our paragraphs then have an ID of first paragraph and second paragraph. So we can go here and we can define now para1. We can use the same function, but here we've got first paragraph. And of course we can duplicate that. We can say here para 2, and it's not going to be the first paragraph, it's going to be the second paragraph. So there we go, we've literally finished our first step. The second step now is to define our blue and red functions. So let's start off with the blue. So function blue. Of course, the meat of our code is within these curly braces. Now I want us to define a variable called color, and we're going to assign that the value of, surprise, surprise, blue, because that's the color we want to change everything to. What's the next thing I want to do? Well, now we need to access our title and our 2 paragraphs and change their color to blue. It's really that simple. And this isn't a course on CSS, but I'm assuming you have some knowledge of CSS and HTML. And here, there's many ways, again, just gonna cat, but I'm gonna use the set attribute method. The first argument of this method is what we're wanting to affect or what we're wanting to access. And of course, we're wanting to access the style attribute of this element. And of course, the second argument is the value we want to give that style. In this instance, we want to change the color, don't we? So we can do it this way. We can go color. And of course, we can just add our color variable. There we go. This should work, right? And if we go to our browser, let's just clear the console and let's click on this everything blue button and boom. This is a really fun website. But right now we've only changed the H1. We haven't changed the 2 paragraphs. So let's do that quickly. We can access para 1. We can set its attribute again, the style. And now we're wanting to change the color. But this time I want to use template literals. It's a newer syntax. And if you're not sure what these are, please check out my JavaScript Complete Grandmaster course. If you know what they are, great. You'll be able to follow along. So here we're wanting to affect our color attribute, and we're wanting that to be set to the value color. There we go. And if I save this, I go back to our browser. Let's click on this button. We've literally changed the H1 and we've changed the first paragraph. Woohoo! Yay! And of course, there's one more thing to do, and that's changing the paragraph 2. So all we've got to do is duplicate that row and change it to para 2. That's it. And if we go back to our browser, click on the button, everything is changed to blue as we would expect.
Mission completed.
Well done. This is so awesome. So now let's go back here and let's do the same for red. In fact, all we need to do is copy this function, paste this function and change blue to red. That's all we have to do. Man, this is fun. This is awesome. You got to agree with me. And it's so easy once you start doing these things. The one thing I want to mention is we can duplicate the functions like this and define 2 variables called color within each function because they've got local scope or block scope. If you're not sure what I mean, again, please check out my JavaScript Complete Grandmaster course. But it should work now. We should be done. If we go to our browser, we've got 2 buttons. Let me just remove this console. If we click on the first, everything goes blue. If we click on the red, everything goes red. You've literally done it, and it took us a few minutes. How cool. And if we go back to our code, here's our JavaScript file, here's our index file. So here is a practical example of us using an inline event listener to actually attach an event listener to a button, the onClick event, and then we also implemented an event handler in a separate JavaScript file, I may add. So well done. I'm super impressed. I'm having a lot of fun. But now I want to get on to the other methods we discussed and looking at examples of those. See you in the next lecture.